He's one of the most interesting people I've ever met. He was extremely sharp and interesting, and has a broad range of knowledge on the world.
I'll go first on this one. This is really interesting because we're seeing stress we haven't seen before. And I think her limbic system just kicked into overdrive. And I think we're seeing adapters while we watch her struggle to create an answer. She's talking about Bill Clinton. They just asked her about Bill, what he was like. And she's making sure every word is perfect. However, her diction, her clarity almost has completely disappeared. Everything starts getting smaller. She's being extremely careful with her words here. Her cadence is slowed down. Her voice tone sounds stressed. It's a little bit higher. And we haven't heard it this high or this stressed up to this point. She's trying to create an answer that has all the fluff and flowers that the one she gave for the Queen has. She's trying to make Bill Clinton seem as high up and respectful as her, but she's having trouble because she knows she has to watch what she says and what she's talking about. The thing that really wigged me out on this, and that's why I was talking to you guys about it and just before this, is because we're seeing cues of fear here. Fear when she's talking about Bill Clinton. Everything has changed here. She starts talking more quietly. Again, she's back into that choppy thing, making sure everything, it's not choppy as it is thinking and then rethinking what she's getting ready to say because she's trying to make this good. She's afraid of Bill Clinton. We're seeing fear, that mouth open like it is. We see her breath rate go up some. Her blink rate goes up. She has that burp when her head goes down. She's guarding her chin comes down, her head comes forward. She's guarding her throat. All these things indicate fear. And that's what in my opinion, that's what we're seeing here. She's afraid of Bill Clinton for whatever reason that would be. And Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, don't know that I'm sure it's fear. I'm not sure it's not a gastric response. She does it twice in this entire interview, but I do look, she tried to use her relationship with Bill Clinton to get her sentence lightened. It's part of the show. They talk about it. So is it fear of him? Is it fear of what that will do? Is it something else? So there's a whole lot of stuff there, but I do clearly see chin drop, protect throat, grief muscle, and gastric response. Something's up there. Scott, you're dead on. It's funny because everybody I know who's ever met Bill Clinton, including people who hate his politics, say the same thing, that he is just this most polished guy, and that when you're in the room with him, everybody else disappears. He's just really good at people. He's the most charismatic person they've met. She's thinking clearly of exactly what to say, though. So I got to see where you're coming from, whether she's afraid of how it's perceived or she's afraid of him. Don't know. But she is clearly, when we talk about down left, you'll hear us say, internal voice. We'll hear us talk about navigation. Just as a simple one for you, I'm going to give you a way to do it, and you'll see it in yourself. Figure out what 8.5% of your total income is. You're first going to try to do some math tables from like third grade. 9 times 9 is 81, that kind of thing. It won't work. So you'll have to go into some internal conversation, and you'll sit and dwell on it for a few minutes, and you'll watch your head drop. Your eyes go down into your left. It happens with all of us. It's about as close to an absolute as I know, and you guys know how much of a non-absolutist I am. She's back to that quirky, coy adopting style too, though, that kind of looking under her brow when she looks over. Maybe I'm going to give her the benefit of a doubt and say the burp and all that's just prison diet. Let's try, but something's up here. And all that internal voice is something. Don't know what it is, but that's what we see. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, Scott, you nailed what I had here. All the fear around discussing the Clintons was a little scary, actually, watching.
Yeah. I thought about whether I was going to say anything or not.
We tend to call people interesting when they make us feel interesting, which is an unusual thing in psychology. And I think we're seeing that here. But what we learned with this in last video, and knowing that compliments are usually a desire to be seen the same way we compliment people, what can we conclude here from watching this? Number one, she prioritizes being seen as interesting. But in her words, how does a person become interesting? They are sharp and they have a broad range of knowledge of the world. So if you're an interviewer hearing this, You're hearing information that can become a weapon if you decide to use it later to flatter them or make them feel good, closer to getting to the confession stage of an interrogation or an interview. And we reveal a lot more in our language than most people assume. So just like body language, real language can still hide tons of information in plain sight, or in plain hearing, I guess, in that case. Mark?
Yeah, I think there is some hiding of information there, definitely. We get a face block for sure. I mean, away from where I think the entrance is, where other people might be able to see. I don't think she feels she's being listened to, but psychologically, it makes sense that there's some shading, some hiding of information here. This description of Clinton is as generic as the description of the Queen, but I think generic for a whole different reason. I think there is a loss of fluency there, so there's some editing that's going on along this. And yeah, we get this broad range of, and then some stomach gas discomfort there. We see that later as well, but we haven't seen it throughout. And so, yep, it could be that this, prison tofu is now suddenly, wreaking havoc, or just has been suggested, maybe at that point, there is some adrenaline that starts pushing its way through the system. There is some discomfort there. There is some fear going on. I mean, we'd have to be there and ask to know for sure, but it's certainly a possibility. Let's see what else we have and whether there's more fear involved.
That was smooth. That was very smooth.
Well, he's one of the most interesting people I've ever met. He was extremely sharp and interesting, and has a broad range of knowledge on the world.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.